Okay,
All right. So tell us about yourself.
so my name is Alex Shee. I work at the Office of the CEO at Element AI, and I'm the host of the AI Element.
I'm Simon Hudson. I work in brand on editorial content, and I'm the producer of the show.
He's what how the magic happens.
Well,
Nice.
I won't brag.
So tell us what is today's podcast about?
Okay, so today's podcast is about explainability. So, what does explainability mean for artificial intelligence? How does it impact our use of artificial intelligence and the adoption of it?
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept that we've been talking about at the office, and surprisingly, a lot of people have different ideas of what it is, what it means, what the different concepts are. So we're really unpacking those and really just trying to get into like why this is an important concept that people should be paying attention to.
Cool. So taking a step back, what is the podcast series about?
So, the podcast series, or this season at least, is about what AI can actually do, but specifically on AI and trustworthiness. So, a lot of the debates in the public right now have been about, can we trust AI? Can we trust the companies behind AI? Can we trust the technology? And what we're trying to unravel is, can we trust AI? And we believe, yes, you can trust AI, and there's a very positive impact that can have on the world. So we want to highlight some of those examples. In the first episode, we actually talked with someone who won 2 Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation awards and is helping predictive medicine around the world, and especially in developing countries in Africa. So just there, you start seeing stories where trust in AI becomes super important, and they actually have a really positive impact on the world.
So Alex is a real optimist. I'm much more skeptical. Definitely about trust, but also I think there's a lot of real challenges to trust. And it's about how we go about solving those problems that are going to earn the trust of people, users, societies. And that's part of what we're going into with these trust concepts or trust topics, is what needs to happen for it to come out in the right way, in a way that we're going to trust it and want to incorporate more AI, or risk having us completely reject it. So I think there's a lot more at stake here. Yes, there's a lot of great examples of what it can do for us, but it's not a guaranteed outcome.
So that's why we work so well together.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about the theme right now. What about the style? How did you decide on the style of the podcast?
I'll let you talk about this one.
There's a lot of different styles of podcasts out there. We could go in and just do, a 3-hour Joe Rogan type interview, which would be a lot easier for me. Just throw Alex in there and let it go. But a lot of people don't know the ins and outs of this concept, and it's tough to get into these different topics without presenting a bunch of different sides to it. Otherwise, you drive more misconception. And so we really want to introduce people with a single show and be able to come out with it with an understanding of how the conversation might go. I'm going to say that again. We really want to introduce people to the concept, to be able to go in and come out with an understanding. Here's where the conversation's at today. Here's where the disagreements are, and to actually be able to participate and navigate that conversation on their own.
I mean, for me, it was interesting because one of the reasons why we chose that format was I was at a family dinner, and around the table were people with tons of different backgrounds, different experiences, different careers, and they all asked me, what is AI? Is it real? Is it something that I can actually trust? And we thought that this was like a much better format to give people an easy way to understand important concepts and then actually see how it's applied in the real world. So it's a lot coming from our personal experience, talking with people, understanding their perception of things, and then trying to unpack it with our understanding of what we're actually seeing in Element AI.
Okay, so this is season 2.
Yes.
How did season 1 fare?
Went really well. We had millions of views all around the world. We had tens of thousands of downloads, and we were super excited. We launched it kind of as a guerrilla exercise, and then it just kind of exploded. It took us a long time to get to season 2, but we have a lot of really cool guests, a lot of really, really interesting topics. I mean, Simon's been doing a phenomenal job at just thinking through trust and AI and how that looks like in a season.
So there's another person who's not here. Her name's Steph.
Yes.
She's our producer and our magician who, I don't want to call her magician. There's another person.
It's okay, don't worry about it. You're like, she could cut everything. It's good.
There's another person who's not here, Steph, who's our technical producer and launches this show. She gets it out to all the different channels, and when we signed on with her, she basically said, I guarantee that you will be a #1 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All my shows get #1 on iTunes. We're like, okay, sure, maybe. And yeah, she made it happen. So we were #1 in Canada for business podcasts when we launched the first season.
Yeah, very cool.
Awesome. So is that how you measure success?
I think the way that we measure success is really, are we getting a really clear explanation of key concepts in artificial intelligence? And are we helping people better understand what's real and what's not? And so listenership is important, and we want to get as many people to listen to it. But the most important thing is those that have a chance to listen to this podcast, that they actually get something out of it and really come back into conversations and have meaningful conversations with others that don't know about it. So our metric for success is probably more about the people that are listening to it, are they getting great content out of it? And that's what we're working hard to do.
Yeah, success for me is, are we able to convey this conversation in a clear way? It's so hard to put out there the conversations we're able to have as a company, the different people we're able to meet. These are really dense, deep topics. And if we can sum that up in a 30-minute podcast episode, I'm going to be really, really happy.
Yeah.
And have you seen any business impact from the podcast?
So yeah, for us, this has been a great educational tool for our clients. We had, for example, our insurance episode. It was listened to a whole company. Listened to it. It was shared by the CEO, and it actually got people thinking about the applications of AI in the insurance field, and has led to us getting contracts. So yeah, there's a clear ROI between what we're doing in the podcast and the business impact. But for us, that's not the driving factor for it. What we really want to do is educate and democratize some of the key concepts of artificial intelligence. If the secondary impact of that is good business, then that's great. But we're here more to figure out what's a great format for people to understand and to listen and see that AI can be trusted in my case, and maybe also something we should think about.
Something that was really surprising for me was in the first season, we were hiring like crazy. When I started, it was like 50, and it became 500 people in 2 years. And every new person I talked to said, yeah, I listened to the entire season, start to finish. And that was totally unexpected for me, that was going to be one of the audiences. And for me, that felt like a win, because, well, maybe they just wanted to impress us, but they said they really liked it. And because often the people that are working here are very relevant to our audience. The AI industry is a big community, right? And people are going to be on different sides of the equation, whether it's with the client or on our side building the product. And so to have been able to attract people through that to be able to have attracted people through that podcast who wanted to come and work here, who really believed in our values, to know that it gets that kind of reaction was really surprising and really made me really happy.
So why the podcast medium? There could have been others.
It's a very simple, well, it's actually not simple. I would say it's one that you can listen to in a variety of environments. It's super accessible, and it's also something for us that's easy to interact with people that we have here, and it brings to life real conversations. Sometimes the way that you write things, you don't get that kind of a 3D of the voice. You don't hear the intonation or the emotions, and I think that's a really great format to get people to understand.
Yeah, when I first came here, something people were talking about was thinking out loud, right? A lot of what we're doing is we're figuring out these brand new problems, brand new solutions to these brand new problems, and that requires thinking out loud, telling people how you're thinking about this, because the first answer might not be quite right. You really need to move that forward. And the podcast format is a conversation that is literally thinking out loud. So it fits our situation a lot more easily than, say, a written piece of content, though the written content's great too.
We actually have, one of the things to note is that the first episode on explainability, there's a great piece that Element will actually be putting out around the same time, which goes deeper. And so you're going to hear those conversations, you're going to get the emotions, the ideas, the thinking out loud, and then you can take a pause and read through that and actually go even deeper into the subject. I think that'll be a helpful tool for anybody that's listening to kind of say, okay, this is what explainability means, now let's go one layer deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So any learnings that you were surprised about?
surprised about. About the format or it while doing the show?
Anything you want.
I was very surprised by how different some of the concepts that I had understood in the public and what they actually meant in the field, that divide. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, is that sometimes the way that the media portrays things and what it actually is can be quite different. And so for us, that was an opportunity to actually go and dig deeper into some of the concepts. So that was maybe the most surprising thing, is I learned a lot while I was doing this, and I actually learned a new vocabulary and a new way of actually addressing some of the key topics in artificial intelligence.
Yeah, the intensity of the debate between the experts, that's been really surprising. Like, they are really going at it, trying to get to the right answer, and man, do they not agree. And again, I think that is perfect for this format, where you're able to convey those disagreements, and I think it's natural for the listener to take away how you might be able to find that middle ground, and understand the reality of where this technology is at today.
Very cool. So what was the season 1 best moment? If you have any funny anecdotes, that's the moment to share them.
Well, I mean, I think in the insurance episode, I just couldn't stop laughing. So it was like, for example, we just had such a great time, and that was phenomenal. And you could hear it in the recording. It's just like, we're laughing. For me, the most eye-opening moment was maybe with Charles C. Onu in the AI for Good episode around the Shazam for babies. And that for me just kind of opened my eyes to a completely different world and a different understanding or perspective on how we can see the world and communication. So those for me were two great moments. I think that insurance podcast where we were just laughing so much that at one point in time it was hard to record. And then in the AI for Good episode, which was just like, just so profound what was coming through in his story and what he was doing, I thought it was phenomenal.
I have to say, Charles, too, you hear about all these different kind of vague applications, pie in the sky ideas, wanting to change completely how organizations are run based on the software that they use. But this guy had a really specific, narrow application that worked, and it was saving babies' lives. Like, to see something so clear and tangible as an example of an application of AI, and literally he said Shazam for babies. It is understanding and translating the cry of a baby. Like that, it's mind-blowing, and it's so clear and so tangible, the impact of that.
Awesome. So what are you looking forward to in season 2?
So there's a few really interesting conversations that I'm looking forward to. We have a few people that are world experts, but from different perspectives: policymakers, economists, philosophers, thinkers, that are coming to this show because they saw the first season, they heard about it, and they're bringing a completely new perspective. Today we're actually interviewing someone that I'm really excited about. Was on the cover of Fortune magazine, and what they were talking about when the first article was published and what we're talking about now is so similar. And we're going to go through
1993.
And 1993, and we're going to go through the history of AI with this person. So when the history of AI episode comes out, I'm really excited about that. We also have like a perspective from a professor at Stanford that's going to look from the history from back in antiquity all the way to today of how a society has seen artificial intelligence. So it's not a new concept, it's something that's existed for millennia. So I mean, those are ideas, the people, and then the topic of the history of AI and this completely different perspective, I think is going to be very interesting.
What I'm really excited about are the people who are coming in to talk about rights. So we talk a lot about ethics, but where do our idea of ethics come from? A lot of them are grounded in basic human rights. Well, depending on who you talk to. Ethicists will probably disagree. There's a big debate there, but that's the point, is that we're bringing in people who are really deep in this debate about rights. And the debate about human rights and AI's respect of those human rights is going to be really, really important. And we have the podcast has led to us being able to secure like top people in the world around this. Former UN Human Rights Commissioners, the current Australian Human Rights Commissioner. I can't say too many right now, but I'm really excited for the people we have coming in to share about where this debate's at today.